Really highly anticipated Village Vice as
Woo!
we wrap up the week. He is Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. And since last we were with you guys, the coaching staff has changed significantly. Carnell Williams, Zac Etheridge, no longer a part of Auburn's coaching staff. Zach, your initial, we'll get into a little more of the detail, but I want to get just your initial thoughts on this news. One item that broke on Thursday night and the other on Friday morning.
Yeah, obviously Cadillac Williams resigning Thursday night. Zac Etheridge, news breaking that he's going to take a job at Houston to be their corners coach or defensive backs coach. And so we'll see exactly how those two things transpire for those two gentlemen, those two Auburn men. My initial reaction was, okay, like this has been talked about for weeks, maybe even months, depending on how plugged in you are. And so my initial reaction was like, okay, here's when he's doing it. All right. You wait until your players are enrolled for a few days to make it harder for them to leave, I guess. I don't know. That's the only thing that I can really come up with as far as the timing. But as far as these two coaches no longer being on staff, obviously you love what Carnell Williams did as the interim head coach after Brian Harsin was let go. We'll all remember that Texas A&M game. I've got a canvas behind me of Carnell Williams running next to Tank Bigsby that the Auburn Daily photographer Eric Sterling took. It's an incredible shot. And it's an incredible moment. And Cadillac was a beacon for Auburn fans during that time. We all rallied around him, and what a perfect guy that was to do that. As far as what he did this past season, I do think there were questions in regards to his ability to recruit at a high level, and the narrative had formed of how good of a recruiter he was. But when you look at the guys he's actually brought in, that doesn't really match. And to be a running backs coach, usually the running backs coach on a staff is one of the better recruiters. So I do think that was something that was discussed internally and something that Hugh Freeze paid attention to. Zac Etheridge, an incredible recruiter, and I think a really solid cornerbacks coach. And I think Auburn's corners got better every single year that he was here. And obviously that's an incredibly important position as modern offenses continue to throw the ball more and more. But I do think there was miscommunication in regards to how things wanted to be processed on the recruiting trail, as well as some personality stuff that we've already talked about a little bit on Village Vice. So I think this is going to come as a shock to a lot of Auburn fans, and just based off of message boards and social media, the voice of the Auburn fan right now, there's some concern, Brad. There's a little bit of panic, but this has been in the works for a long time. And I don't think Auburn fans should feel any sort of panic or that things are falling apart, because that's not what's happening.
Yeah, typically things like this don't just happen suddenly. This industry is too big, and there are too many moving parts for things like that to happen suddenly. And so I tend to agree with you, despite, by the way, what the folks in Tuscaloosa will tell you about when that decision was made. Nothing like this happens suddenly. I think it's a both and situation. I don't want to tell anybody how they should feel. People can feel however they want to feel, but I think it's possible to both really appreciate and admire both Zac and Carnell from a personal perspective. Both have had to overcome tremendous challenges and adversity. We know their stories. And if we don't, it doesn't take that long. Like, they're not hidden stories. You can go find them pretty easily. And to admire them as players, to admire and be grateful for the work that they did as coaches, and to wish them the best in whatever other opportunities they're going to pursue, whether it's in coaching, out of coaching, different schools, what have you. And also to be excited to see what happens next. Because no matter what in life, our world is like 10% what happens and 90% what now, what next. All right. Where do you go from here? And if the head coach has a vision for where he wants to go from here, he gets to see that vision out and you can be excited about that. And also, you know, be grateful for what these guys who had tremendous playing careers at Auburn did when they were members of the staff.
Yeah. Yeah. I think now there being a running backs coach opening, I think it makes Derek Nix he's wide receivers coach at Ole Miss right now, but he was running backs coach there for, I think it was like 11 or 12 years. It was a long time.
Long time.
Brad. I think he will be Auburn's next offensive coordinator. I think he will also be the running backs coach. I think that's how you're going to see that responsibility stack up. I think you're going to see Chris Kiffin come in. That allows Charles Kelly to coach defensive backs. There's a lot of rumblings about Coach Wesley McGriff returning to this Auburn coaching staff. There was a lot of talk about him taking a job at A&M, but a lot of folks reporting that he has not signed anything official with Texas A&M. Kind of think he saw that this was coming, and so they said, hold on. So and I've seen a few mods on different folks kind of report the same, or different sites say the same thing. So there's a lot of smoke in him returning. So, I mean, you think about the potential outlook of this with Charles Kelly coming. I mean, this staff is going to be loaded as far as recruiting on the defensive side, and now I think even the offensive side with the addition of Derek Nix. So I see what Hugh Freeze is doing. Yeah. I absolutely see what he's doing. Some Auburn fans are going to be frustrated by the news of the last 24 hours, and you can be. Like you said, we're not telling you how to feel, but all of this does make sense. When you see these coaches that exceed, I think, at a high level, and they take jobs elsewhere that aren't as good of jobs, like Zac Etheridge taking the Houston job, or Ron Roberts going from Auburn, D.C., where Auburn had a really good defense last year, and taking a linebacker's job at Florida. You got to think that it's hey, let's try to find you something somewhere else, opposing to just cutting ties and letting go. And I think that's advantageous to both parties. I think that's why this took so long, Brad. I also do think the timing is strategic from, the transfer portal window closing and all of that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of my reaction to all of it. We can't go as deep as some folks may want us to, but I do think this was the best move for the future of the Auburn football program.
At the end of the day, in every single relationship dynamic, it doesn't matter if it's business, so if a professional relationship or a personal relationship, if you're not completely in lockstep, hupo tasso, on going in the same direction, in the same way, at the same pace, then you're really doing a disservice to yourself and the other entity by continuing on. So, like, if guys want to,
and Brad, I'm sorry. So I just want to make sure people don't hear you. Mishear you and misconstrue what you're saying, because I'm seeing this narrative a lot pop up already. You're not saying that he and Hugh Freeze didn't get along.
Correct.
Because there's this narrative that, like, Hugh Freeze hated Caddy because the team liked Caddy more. One, I don't think it's true.
No.
And two, like, I just want to clarify, like, that is not what you're saying as far as, like, not being in lockstep.
Right. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. No, but the statement from Carnell talks about wanting to pursue other opportunities. Zac is going to Houston there. Whatever the case may be, you have to benefit both parties. Like, I've seen a little bit of, well, if, why don't you work harder why do you let guys leave? Well, if guys want to leave and you work to keep them, eventually, and again, I'm kind of talking more in generalities here than I am specifics.
Okay.
That doesn't serve them or you best. So at the end of the day, the head coach, and again, I'm thinking more of, the scenario you laid out. It's logical to me. I'm not a reporter. I don't have some of the same reporting, contacts and sources and things like that. But what you laid out makes a lot of sense. It's logical. They've worked together. Guys have worked together in the past. They have different kind of ties, connections. Derek Nix, by the way, was on the staff at Ole Miss when Hugh Freeze was there as the head coach. He was running backs coach there.
Chris Kiffin was there at the same time.
Right.
As defensive coordinator. Right.
So there's familiarity that exists there. So at the end of the day, the head coach gets to build his staff and gets to move forward the way he thinks is best.
Yep.
That's the way that works. That's the way that has to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Today's show brought to you by our friends at mybookie.ag. MyBookie is the best place to wager on all of your sports action. They've got parlays, they've got live game betting, same game parlays, lines, futures, everything you could possibly want. As a sports fan and sports bettor, they've got it over at mybookie.ag. Right now, you can make a free account, check out all their lines, and okay, once you're ready to cash in, because look, if you watch this show, you're a genius. Just do the opposite of what we say, and you're going to make a lot of money over at mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round when you make that first deposit. Mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round. You'll get some extra money to play with, and we promise you'll have a great time. It'll be fun. It'll be fun, right? Mybookie.ag. So, in regards to, I guess, the next steps that's happening. Is I think the coordinator hires come on. I still believe there'll be Derek Nix on offense, and I think the defensive coordinator will be Chris Kiffin. We'll see what happens with the Texans and the Browns this weekend in the playoff game. And then after that, I think Wesley McGriff returns to this staff. Charles Kelly will be formally announced as co-DC and safeties coach. And I think at that point, you've got to feel really good about the makeup of this staff. I think it's a great combination of guys that can get it done on the field and really pound the recruiting trail.
Yeah. Every domino that falls gets you a little bit closer to all of the dominoes finally being on the table.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, that's kind of elementary, I guess, but that's it. It is. It's
the way you worded it, though, was elite. I mean, it sounded so epic.
Right. Yeah. I'm eloquent with my nonsense. That's a big selling point. And there is an element of comfort that comes with that.
Yeah.
Questions and what's going to happen at this position or that position. We are today a little bit closer to that, and that's good. I'm sort of halfway monitoring social media and news feeds as we record, because is it possible that some of this happens between the time this show is posted and the start of the weekend? Sure. It's possible.
Right. Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about Zach? And I didn't tell you that we were going to do this, but since we were last with the people, Auburn's added a big offensive tackle.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
In the midst of the coaching news and in the midst of all of the other pandemonium that's out there, in the country in terms of football coaches, Auburn got a big 6'8", 345-pound offensive tackle, big Percy Lewis.
And let's incorporate him with a little buy-sell. Buy-sell, of course, is brought to you by our buddy Ross Kilpatrick with Exit Realty Anchor South. Give him a call at 334-402-0028. If you need a house, he's got you covered. You buying or selling that the starting offensive line now. Left tackle, Percy Lewis. Left guard, Dylan Wade. Center, Connor Lew. Right guard, I'm going with Jeremiah Wright right now. And then at right tackle is Xavier Miller. You buying or selling that's the starting offensive line?
Oh, boy, that's compelling for an offensive line.
The biggest toss-up is probably right guard. Yeah. I feel pretty good about those other four.
Yeah, I do too. And I don't want to so when I say buy, and I'm going to buy this, that doesn't mean I don't think that and I think there's a multitude of guys who will be battling.
I agree.
For that spot.
Sure.
That's not to discount them in January. All right. I shouldn't have to clarify that, but I will. I did, I guess. But yeah, I think Jeremiah Wright, think about that for a minute. You start the season with that offensive line. There's a lot of confidence there.
It's a lot of beef.
Yeah.
A lot of beef.
You buy that?
I do buy it.
Yeah.
I do buy it. Other guys to kind of keep an eye on, Jaden Muskrat and Tate Johnson, I think will be in the battle for both of those guard spots.
Yeah.
Seth Wilfred, the JUCO player, I think he'll be a backup tackle, but still, we said that about Xavier Miller a year ago.
Yeah.
And then another guy, Tyler Johnson at tackle. We keep hearing incredible things about him from this coaching staff. So lot of guys. I mean, all of a sudden there's depth on the offensive line So, I mean, that's exciting.
And if we're talking August 31st starting line versus, sometime in October or November, is it possible that you put DeAndre Carter in that at some point? Again, I go back to him starting since his 9th grade year at the top high school program, arguably in the country.
He's good.
And I think he's got a lot of savvy and seasoning already to him as he comes to campus.
He's good. Absolutely. All right. Are you buying or selling that Auburn's coordinators next year will be Derek Nix and Chris Kiffin?
I think it makes a lot of sense because of the familiarity with the head coach, and both are stars at recruiting. I think it makes the most sense. So yes, I will buy.
Are you buying or selling any commits, either portal or high school, happening this weekend? There's a handful of kids, both via the portal. Those are a little kind of there's different reports on those guys, but then there's several recruits, a lot of 4-star 2025 kids coming in. They're going to the basketball game. Most of them will be at the basketball game, which we'll talk about in a second. That's obviously going to be a selling point too, just the energy and the love for Auburn that they'll be able to see and feel. You buying or selling any commitments this week?
I will sell.
I am too.
Yeah. Really?
We're on the same page here. I was trying to talk you up a little bit so you would buy it so we could differ on something, but I guess not.
Yeah. And I don't know why, other than maybe I think there's going to be a lot of energy put into getting those dominoes, flat on the table and kind of finishing the staff.
I mean, the first domino has to fall before all the dominoes are on the table.
Yeah. I think it was Nietzsche that said that, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Nietzsche.
Got it.
So yeah, I think I'll sell that and I don't really have a lot of logic to back it up. I just think that
how many dominoes are on the table, Brad?
I think at this point, there's probably a dozen or so that are still on the table at this point.
Got it. Are they still falling though?
Oh yeah. Well, they're leaning.
They're in motion. Like we're like halfway through the fall. I got you.
You're looking at the slow motion. It's like the 32K camera, very slow. Yeah.
But as long as they all get flat on the table, that's all that really matters. That's all that really matters.
Sure.
All right. Are you buying or selling that a Wesley McGriff or some other position coach is hired and made official by Monday? Buying or selling?
I think I'll buy that.
I think I will too.
Yeah.
I think I will too.
I think I buy that. Again, I think now that these moves have started, you'll see the rest of them fall into place.
Yeah, you'll see some of these dominoes fall flat on the table.
Right. Exactly.
That's huge.
And I'm talking about the old school black and white ones too, not these newfangled like tile that are white with the colored dots. No, black and white.
Did you just get off my lawn with dominoes?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
That's what you just did?
No, I'm talking about my grandfather, Daddy Bob, in a cigar box with a box full of these black and white plastic dominoes. That's
and there's no way they all were like still in the box. Like, you're missing like 4 or 5 of them.
Of course, yes, but they filled the box. They filled the old.
There's a little space. There's like you could shake them around. It's like, we may be missing some here.
Sure.
Missing some here.
Yeah.
Are you buying or selling that Wesley McGriff is the most likely to be named this weekend?
Oh man, that's tougher. Well, if you think it's Kiffin, don't you have to wait until the Texans play their game?
But what if the Texans win?
Yeah. I don't really know that I don't know. Maybe that's a side.
So last year, and this is a small sample size, and it was a totally different situation, but they announced the coordinators like back to back. Mm-hmm. They announced Montgomery and Roberts like within like an hour. It may have been less than that. You got to think he'll want to do that again, unless if Houston goes on this run, which with CJ Stroud doing what he's doing, like that's totally on the table with the rest of these dominoes. Do you think that they go ahead and announce Derek Nix or whoever the offensive coordinator is before the defensive coordinator, or are we just kind of in limbo until the Houston Texans season is over, assuming it is Chris Kiffin?
I've got to think that I think coordinators will be announced before other positions. I think it's a trickle down or it's a top down.
Is that why Charles Kelly hasn't been announced yet, you think?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. So Yeah, so I will sell that it's a position coach that's named before a coordinator.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Do you think so, or do you buy that?
I think if Houston wins, they will announce the OC hire next week.
Okay.
You just can't wait on that.
Yeah.
You mean
you mean the DC hire?
No, because if it's Kiffin, you can't announce it until his season's done.
Right, but you could announce an OC hire today if you want it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's going to wait to see if we can do them together.
Yeah.
And then if they can't, I think an OC hire is named next week. That's what I'm saying.
I see. I got, but
if Houston wins, if Houston loses, I think they're both announced next week.
So you don't see a world where they first want to make an independent announcement of the OC without the DC. You think they want to, if they can possibly do it, like it's worth waiting until Sunday or Monday.
Yes, but I don't think it's worth waiting another week if Houston wins.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I hear you. I get you.
Serving the Auburn area with locations in Auburn, Lake Martin, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. From Auburn to Lake Martin to the Emerald Coast of Florida, contact Ross Kilpatrick with Exit Realty Anchor South for all of your real estate needs. You can call him at 334-402-0028. And his office in Auburn is located at 1922 Professional Circle, Suite 202 in Auburn. Do you want to talk hoops?
Yes.
Do we have a six-pack?
We do have a six-pack.
Where do you want to go next?
We could go. I was thinking about this, that if we wanted to, we could make this like an hour-long episode today because there's just so much that's going on. Can I get your thoughts, by the way, on Bill Belichick before we talk hoops? As the resident Patriots fan.
Shocking. And the news dropping at 6 a.m. on a Thursday morning is the most Bill Belichick thing ever, by the way. No, I mean, the writing was on the wall. I disagree with the move, but clearly they agreed upon it. And so you got to think it's the best thing for the future of the franchise. Incredible. I'm so glad I grew up cheering for Bill Belichick. What an incredible ride. But look, the next guy in line, Gerard Mayo, I'm a fan of this hire. I'm really excited about it. There's all this talk about Vrabel and Pete Carroll and all that. And being privileged, having a successful coach for like my entire life, for the team I care most about, I always kind of judge other franchises when they hired the same coaches over and over and over again. They would just trade like failed head coaches. And so I'm glad they're taking a risk on Gerard Mayo, a guy who's been in the system for a long time. I'm a big fan of that. So he becomes the youngest coach in the NFL. He's a month younger than Sean McVay. And I'm excited to see what Gerard Mayo does.
Yeah, kind of a foolproof hire, quite frankly, because it is. You go, well, we know we're not gonna have a 2.0. It's not Belichick 2.0. So if it works, then you're revolutionary. You know, you went out on a limb a little bit and it paid off.
Yeah,
and you're visionary. And if it doesn't work, then well, who was going to step in and follow Bill Belichick? It's extraordinarily hard, almost impossible to be the guy that follows the guy.
The Athletic reported that there's a clause in Gerard Mayo's contract this past year that he would succeed Bill Belichick as head coach. It's incredible. Yeah. So, I mean, this plan was in place. I'm sure it was up in the air on like when that succession would happen, but I love that there was a plan. You got to think that impacted how Robert Kraft and Gerard Mayo approached things over the past few months. And so hopefully he had a kind of a longer runway to get ready for this position. And they're going to hire a general manager, which I like. I think that's good. And if they don't draft Marvin Harrison with the third pick in the NFL draft, I don't know what I'm going to do.
It is another example of the fact that these things typically, like that clause being in the contract,
it's wild.
Very rarely do things happen suddenly or spontaneously. It's too big a business to do things suddenly or spontaneously.
Well, nope, I'm not going there. Never mind.
Why?
Never mind. I can't go there. I was told I can't say it, so never mind.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done that.
Man.
I'm so sorry. Oh, let's jump into the six pack.
Okay. That's for premium members in the future. Maybe.
Yeah. You can become a member of this YouTube channel, support the show. We're gonna in 2024. Our goal is to put up some extra content for folks who want to support the show. So yeah, become a member, and I think you'll see more content coming that way. So that'll be fun.
I'm sorry, I railroaded that. That's the worst soft launch promotion of all time, and it's
the
my
dominoes
fault.
are still falling. They're not flat on the table yet.
So, yeah, that's right. We don't need to gather them up and put them back in the Dutch Masters box just yet. Okay. Here's your Village Vice 6-pack.
Yeah, please jump into the 6-pack. Please save this.
And it's just going to be SEC basketball. All right.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked you went that direction. I thought you were going to pick some weird schools that I've never heard of before.
Well, I could go Kansas and Oklahoma. That's a top 10 matchup, but I'm not. We have enough compelling games in the SEC this weekend.
I'm glad. I think this was the right move by you. Props to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we've got it recorded for all time.
Yeah, no, I've been critical of your 6-pack selections. I think it sounds like you're going to nail this one.
All right. Thank you. Now the pressure's on. All right. All these games are Saturday in the league. Tennessee is at Georgia. Bulldogs surprising people by getting off to a 2-0 start. They went to Missouri and won, and then beat Arkansas by double digits. Of course, who hasn't these days? Georgia hosting Tennessee.
Yeah, surprise parties are fun, but they do end, and so Tennessee is going to make sure that ends.
Boy, no hesitation at all, huh?
No, I don't think it's going to be close, Brad.
Boy, okay. All right. I'm tempted to take Georgia just because of your bravado on that.
Take Georgia. Take Georgia. Do it.
What do I have to lose? Not a dang thing. Right. I will take Georgia. I think Georgia gets it done at home, and I think they'll be the most surprising 3-0 team in the league after Saturday. Okay. How about 6th-ranked Kentucky at Texas A&M? Kentucky's been scoring 90 points a game. Well, they average 90, but it's been a little bit of an uptick since the loss to UNC Wilmington. So they're at A&M, and Aggie's getting a little bit desperate at 0-2 in the league.
Yeah, I do think this is a solid matchup for A&M if it works. If they can get it scrappy and physical early. I'm not expecting them to. Like, this one wouldn't shock me if A&M pulled this off, but I'm going to pick Kentucky.
Yeah. I think I probably should pick Kentucky, which will guarantee that A&M will find a way to get this done. I think Kentucky. I know transitive stuff is silly, and we've discussed why it doesn't work, but
I hate it.
It's hard to watch A&M at home against LSU get pushed around on the glass and think that Kentucky won't come into College Station and do the same thing.
Right.
So I kind of believe in Kentucky this year.
They're good, dude. They're a good team.
So I will, and Kentucky already has a road win. They went to Florida and won. And so I'll pick Kentucky here as well. Okay. How about Alabama at Mississippi State? Alabama 2-0. State just upset Tennessee in Starkville Wednesday night. Can they make it 2 upsets in a row?
I don't think so. I'm taking Alabama in this one, but it'd be awesome if if Mississippi State was able to pull it off.
Yeah, it's offense against defense here for sure. Alabama can score like crazy. I think Mississippi State's only given up 10 or 11 70-point games since Chris Jans has been the head coach, so a season and a half.
Got it.
But 2 of them have been Alabama. So I tend to think they'll do that again. So I will go with Alabama in that game. All right. How about 0-2 against 0-2 Arkansas at Florida? Who finally gets their first SEC win?
It's in Florida?
Yeah, it's in Gainesville.
Wow, I just have a hard time imagining either of these teams starting 0-3, but particularly Arkansas. With it being in Florida, I think I'm going to take the Gators, man, which feels weird. I think Arkansas is the better team. They're more talented, but yeah, I'll take Florida. Yeah,
if there's a chance, I think the best chance Arkansas has is for Florida to still be reeling from the second half against Ole Miss. Ole Miss was really impressive in that second half against Florida back in Oxford. So if they can regroup well enough, they should take care of Arkansas, and I will pick them to do that.
Do you remember that time Auburn beat Arkansas by 32 points on the road?
I do remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah. I also remember that time that yesterday when Katie Johnson started going through Twitter and answering tweets or posts, I guess is what they are now. And he posted the score wrong to an Arkansas fan. But I thought it was brilliant because what's the fan going to do? Correct him? Like, he just posted the score. He said 81-53. So what's the Arkansas fan going to do? Nuh-uh, it's actually worse than that. So,
yeah, loser.
Yeah. Nuh-uh. You didn't know what the score was. It was really a 32-point game, not 28. So take that.
I love it. I missed that. That's hilarious.
Put it in your Dutch Masters cigar box and do whatever you want with it.
That's right. Right. Domino's still falling. They're about to be flat on the table.
And the last domino for today's show, Zach, in our Village Vice 6-pack comes your way after I tell you about Manscaped. Very quickly. You know the deal here. This won't take long, and it won't be as entertaining as it usually is because it'll be quicker. Manscaped.com. Use the promo code VICE to get 20% off and free shipping. I just thought of a way I could take that, but I'll save it for next week. Manscaped is the very best in men's grooming, whether we're talking about the neck, the beard, the face, or we're talking about south of the border. Manscaped.com has you covered so they can have you uncovered. 20% off plus free shipping using the promo code VICE at manscaped.com. Final item in the Village Vice 6-pack, Auburn against LSU, 5 o'clock Central, Neville Arena, Saturday. Auburn's won 8 straight by 15 or more points. LSU is 2-0. They have dynamic guard play. Bruce Pearl is ticked off that Jalen Cook is eligible for LSU, and he will mention it at every possible media opportunity, and I love that about the Auburn head coach. What do you think?
I'm taking Auburn. If this is in Baton Rouge, I think I'm picking differently, but this team isn't losing in Neville. 5 o'clock tip on a Saturday. Seems like normally our home Saturday games are at 11. I love that it's a little later. Following Saturdays at 7:30 against Ole Miss. That's going to be ridiculous. But yeah, give me Auburn in this one, Brad.
Yeah, I agree. I think Auburn has learned how to prepare and how to respond after games to prepare for the next one. And I think those are the two most important elements that this team needed to learn. They've done it. And as we will say about most of their games this year, I just think they'll outlast. They will have more gas in the tank, more dominoes that they can knock over than the other team. And so Auburn's dominoes will still be falling while the other teams are flat on the table.
That's right. That's right. Brad, I think that about does it for today's show.
It does. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We appreciate it. And remember, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.